Welcome to the critique. So, this material, it's really about redefining productivity, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Challenging that whole hustle idea by saying, well, feeling good first actually leads to success.
A really interesting premise.
Yeah. Now, before we dive into enhancements, we should definitely acknowledge the strengths.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, that core idea of feeling good leads to success, it's quite innovative, especially now, and it's grounded in science, which is great.
Right. And that personal story, the junior doctor part,
Oh, yeah.
that really grabs you, makes it relatable straight away. You see the author's own journey.
Exactly. It sets the stage perfectly. And like you said, it's not just story. There's a solid framework behind it.
Hmm.
You know, psychology, neuroscience, but then it boils down to these practical experiments.
Which makes it really actionable.
Totally. Credible and usable. It's a strong foundation.
Okay, so it's built on solid ground.
Right. So let's maybe explore how we can make those connections within the framework even stronger. Specifically, thinking about how the unblocked strategies really build on the energized principles.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Part 1 gives us the energizers, play, power, people.
Mm-hmm.
And then part 2 tackles procrastination with things like seek clarity, find courage, get started.
Right.
But I wonder, could that link be, more explicit, more consistent?
How so?
Well, part 2 does a good job explaining how negative feelings like uncertainty or fear block us. But does it always clearly show how using those specific energizers from part 1 directly solves those specific blockers?
Ah, I see what you mean.
Sometimes the unblock method feels a little separate, like another set of tools rather than flowing directly from cultivating play, power, or people.
Okay.
And that might make the reader see the parts of the book as maybe distinct modules instead of one deeply interconnected system.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's like you want that synergy to be unmistakable. So what's the main payoff for the reader if those links are tightened?
Well, the big payoff is it really solidifies the whole feel-good productivity idea as a single powerful system, not just separate tips. It shows how feeling good directly tackles the things that hold us back.
Makes sense.
So the suggestion is really to reinforce those connections, both thematically and practically.
Okay.
Between part 1's concepts, play, power, people, and part 2's strategies, clarity, courage, getting started, show explicitly how activating the energizers helps prevent or overcome the blockers.
Got it. Any concrete examples of how that might look?
Sure. Like in Chapter 4 on Seek Clarity, where you talk about overcoming uncertainty with methods like Commander's Intent or the 5 Whys.
Yeah.
You could directly link that back to power from Chapter 2. Explain that taking ownership, which is a power strategy, is how you get empowered to define your purpose clearly and cut through that uncertainty.
Okay, so linking the how of power to the what of clarity.
Exactly. Or, for Find Courage, in Chapter 5, dealing with fear.
Mm-hmm.
You discuss boosting confidence using things like the confidence switch or the social model method, which are linked to power in Chapter 2.
Right.
Frame those specifically as ways to build the courage needed for those specific fears the reader faces, not just general confidence. Make the connection direct.
I like that. Tailoring the solution to the problem using the framework.
Precisely. And one more. Get started. Chapter 6. Tackling inertia.
Yeah, the friction.
Show explicitly how reducing that emotional friction comes directly from integrating play from Chapter 1. Like framing a task as a side quest or choosing your character. That directly uses play to make starting less daunting.
So play isn't just fun, it's a tool against inertia.
Exactly. These are just, a few ways. But making those links explicit really makes the whole thing flow better, feel more integrated.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense for strengthening the internal structure. Now, thinking about the practical side, those experiments are great, really actionable.
Yeah, they are a real highlight.
But is there a risk, maybe, that with so many practical how-tos, the reader might lose sight of the really unique philosophical core, the why behind it all?
That's a really interesting question. Could the sheer volume of experiments, as good as they are, sometimes overshadow the core message?
Potentially?
I mean, the book excels with these practical steps in every chapter, but maybe, just maybe, the detail makes the reader focus so much on the action that they sort of miss the revolutionary reason behind it.
The feel-good productivity philosophy itself.
Right. That unique value proposition that positive emotions are the engine for performance, not just a nice side effect. Does that always shine through with every experiment?
If not, the book might accidentally come across more like a collection of really good habits rather than the paradigm shift it aims to be.
That's a subtle but important distinction. You don't want the why to get lost in the what.
Exactly. So the suggestion here would be to maybe more frequently and explicitly tie each experiment back to that central philosophy.
How would that work?
Well, connect it back to the science you introduced, like the broaden and build theory. You know, how positive feelings expand our thinking?
Right.
Or the role of feel-good hormones. Just explicitly state how this specific action cultivates positive emotion as the pathway to getting things done. Reinforce that unique angle constantly.
Okay, so weaving the philosophy back in repeatedly but lightly.
Yeah. For example, after explaining Experiment 1, Choose Your Character, from the play chapter, you could add a sentence, something like, and doing this directly taps into that core idea, feeling good in this case. More playful and adventurous boosts our creativity and our productivity. Show how it broadens thinking.
I like that. It connects the fun exercise directly to the core theory.
Or when you introduce nice goals in the clarity chapter.
Yeah, the alternative to SMART goals.
Remind the reader briefly why these are energizing. It's not just motivation. It's because they align with the feel-good principle by focusing on intrinsic pleasure and things you can control, unlike maybe some outcome-focused SMART goals.
So linking the goal type back to the core emotional driver.
Exactly. And maybe one more. After Experiment 5, schedule your breaks in the conserve section.
Important one.
Explicitly connect that do-nothing time to replenishing our self-control resources, referencing that idea that positive emotions are the fuel. Make it clear breaks aren't lazy, they're strategic for sustaining that feel-good fuel.
So it reinforces breaks as part of the productivity engine itself.
Right. These little additions just keep reminding the reader of the unique perspective driving all the practical advice.
Okay, that's really helpful for keeping the core message strong throughout. Let's shift gears a bit. Maybe talk about the beginning. That personal story, the junior doctor anecdote, it's super compelling.
Yeah, it really draws you in.
But thinking about the introduction's pacing, could the big aha moment, the core philosophy, land even quicker? Hit harder sooner?
That's a sharp observation. Is there a potential downside to spending perhaps a fair bit of time on the narrative of the struggle before hitting the reader with the central thesis?
What do you think?
Well, the anecdote is masterful, no doubt. It builds empathy, sets the scene for transformation, but it does take a little while narrating the struggle, the burnout, the research dive.
Right.
Before we get the explicit statement that, everything we thought about success through hard work is maybe wrong, that happiness comes first.
So the big reveal is delayed a bit?
Potentially. And while the story keeps you reading, delaying that core, counterintuitive argument might mean the book's truly unique angle isn't crystal clear right at the very start.
Okay, I see that. You want to hook them not just with the story, but with the groundbreaking idea itself as fast as possible.
Exactly. So the suggestion isn't to lose the story, it's vital. But maybe streamline the intro a little, pivot more quickly from the low point to the actual revelation.
Make the turn sharper.
Yeah, so you establish the book's distinct value proposition sooner, really hooking the reader with the what's different here question.
Okay, concretely, how might that look?
Well, you have that vivid moment, the Christmas Day shift low point, as I forlornly look down at my damp scrubs.
Yeah, powerful image.
Right after that, or very soon after, you could bring in that core statement that currently appears a bit later. Something like, it took a few months, but I was stumbling towards a revelation. Everything I'd been told about success was wrong. I couldn't hustle my way to being a good doctor. Working harder wasn't the answer.
Wow, yeah. That lands with impact right after the struggle. Really does. Makes you lean in and think, okay, so what is the answer then?
Exactly. And then, right after that revelation, introduce feel-good productivity. Maybe bring in the psychology background, the broaden and build idea, a bit quicker as the scientific basis for this new path.
So shorten the gap between problem and proposed solution.
Pretty much.
This revised flow gets the reader into the surprising secrets part faster, grounding that unique philosophy right from the get-go. It puts the so what right up front.
Okay, those are 3 really solid areas for enhancement. Anything else that comes to mind, perhaps about making the change stick for the reader?
That's actually a great final point to consider. The experiments are fantastic for getting started, feeling empowered. But how do we help the reader move from doing individual experiments to really weaving this into their life, making it a sustainable, almost effortless practice?
Ah, the habit formation piece.
Exactly. Is there maybe a slight weakness in guiding the reader on that transition from trying things out to building a lasting lifestyle?
Could be.
They might see the experiments as, one-off interventions rather than steps towards a whole new way of operating, which could mean the change doesn't last as long as it could.
A missed opportunity for real transformation.
Right, given how strong the core idea is. So maybe the suggestion is to integrate a clearer roadmap for habit formation.
Like what?
Could be several things. Maybe introducing something like habit stacking specifically for combining energizers with existing routines. Show them how to layer play or people onto things they already do.
Making it practical to integrate.
Yeah. Or perhaps adding a small section in each chapter or maybe an appendix. Something like making it stick from experiment to lifestyle.
I like that title.
It could offer tips on reviewing progress, adapting strategies, celebrating the small wins to keep motivation high.
Acknowledging the long game.
Exactly. And maybe even explicitly talk about building a personalized feel-good system that grows with them. Not just applying tactics, but owning the philosophy and adapting it.
Empowering them to be the architects of their own system.
Precisely. That helps ensure the impact isn't just immediate, but genuinely life-changing and long-lasting.
Okay, this has been incredibly useful. To quickly recap, we've talked about strengthening the links between the energize and unblock sections for a more integrated feel.
Right, making that synergy really clear. We also looked at keeping that unique feel-good philosophy front and center, even with all the great practical experiments.
Yeah, constantly tying the how back to the why. And we discussed potentially tweaking the introduction's pacing to land the core revelation a bit sooner for maximum impact.
And finally, adding some guidance on making these practices stick, turning experiments into lasting habits and a personalized system.
By focusing on those areas, explicitly linking energizers to blockers, reiterating the unique philosophy, streamlining the opening, and adding that habit formation roadmap, this already strong material could become even more powerful.
Absolutely. We really hope this feedback is helpful as you continue to refine this work. We definitely encourage you to consider these points and, feel free to submit it again later. We're excited to see where it goes.